Welcome to New at NAMT, the next wave of musical theater writers, a series dedicated to spotlighting the emergent voices in musical theater. Every interview provides a unique glimpse into the creative minds behind the next big musicals. So whether you're a producer, theater lover, or even simply curious about the future of musical theater, New at NAMT offers a front row seat to a new generation of writers. Today, on New at NAMT, we'll be talking with the winners of the Musical Theater Songwriting Challenge for high school students alongside their program mentors. Presented by the National Endowment for the Arts, NEA, in partnership with the National Alliance for Musical Theater, NAMT, in collaboration with Concord Theatricals, Disney Theatrical Productions, the NMPA S.O.N.G.S Foundation, the Musical Theater Songwriting Challenge is a unique educational and professional development opportunity for high school students to write and showcase a song that could be in a musical. This past year, 7 winning songs by 8 student songwriters were selected to win the Songwriting Challenge. Those winning student songwriters traveled from all across the country to New York City in June 2024 for Winners Weekend, where their songs were fully orchestrated and performed live in a concert by Broadway performers. You can still watch the concert at home by heading over to the namt.org/challenge and see the first ever performance of these songs for yourself. Over the next little bit, we'll talk with the winners about their songs and the full Musical Theater Songwriting Challenge experience. It's time to lower the lights, raise the curtain, and LX1, go on New at NAMT. I am your host, Jean-Paul Yovanoff from Musical Theater Radio, and joining me each week is a rotating cast of Songwriting Challenge program mentors as our co-host. Before we get to today's interview, let's welcome this week's co-host, Dylan. Dylan, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, great. So before we get to talking to our guest, let's get to know you a little bit better. Introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself, your relationship with NAMT, and your involvement in the Musical Theater Songwriting Challenge.
Sure. So, my name is Dylan Glatthorn. I'm a songwriter, composer, lyricist. My relationship with NAMT started back in 2020 when I was awarded a Frank Young Fund grant with my writing partner, Will Lacker, for our musical, The Pelican, which then went on to be accepted into NAMT's Festival of New Musicals in 2022. And then last year, NAMT asked me to come on board the Musical Theater Songwriting Challenge as the music supervisor.
Very nice. I got to see the Pelican down there. So congratulations on that. That was awesome.
Thank you, Jean-Paul.
So now that we know who our co-host is, let's get to the interview. Today, we're thrilled to be speaking with Ale Fonseca, one of this year's Songwriting Challenge winners. Her song, Overthinking, centers on Kelly, an aspiring musician who puts her career above the relationships in her life. As the people closest to her start treating her differently, Kelly tries to convince herself that she is just overthinking. Ale, welcome to New at NAMT.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to chat with you about all things about the challenge and the NAMT.
I'd love for you to introduce yourself to the listeners and tell us a little bit more about your winning song, Overthinking.
Yeah, so hi, my name is Ale Fonseca. I use she, her pronouns. I'm from Miami, Florida, and I just finished my first semester at Berklee College of Music. Overthinking is from my original musical, Sonder, and Sonder has changed a little bit since my time at the challenge and my time at school, but it still follows the general idea of Sonder. Sonder is the concept that strangers and people you see in day-to-day life have these full lives that you wouldn't even know about. It's a show about humanity and people and relationships and follows different characters throughout their personal journey, one of which is Kelly, who sings her song Overthinking.
So I had the privilege of helping build out the charts for Overthinking along with Teresa Lotz. Overthinking is such a fantastic song, a rolling fugue of sorts with a groove and complexity to it that I personally very much gravitate towards. Ale, what was your process for writing this song?
The process for writing Overthinking was very different compared to writing other songs, considering it is, musical theater. And I knew I wanted a song in the musical that really captured that idea of humanity. as most of my songwriting process is, I start on my guitar, just improvising, and immediately the first line that I came up with was Morgan's line in the song. And it just kind of like popped into my head, and the train of thought kind of like filled in the blanks for me. And overthinking just felt like the right approach to this song. And through the songwriting challenge, I received feedback, and from that first draft, it totally just evolved even further, which was really exciting to listen to, having full context of the show and having that new feedback. And it's just a completely different song now, which I think is pretty cool.
What was it like to collaborate with professional mentors like Dylan and Teresa and Zanib and Al? What was the most impactful takeaways from your time with them?
First and foremost, they need a raise. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but they need a raise. They are so incredible. What to say about that experience? Dylan, Teresa, Zaniba have been nothing but incredible to me. They really just took me under their wing and gave me this safe space where I felt really heard. I I felt like really safe in this environment, and they never made me feel like I was a kid, if that makes any sense. You know, it's like you go into this experience, and because you are this younger person, I never felt like my opinion wasn't important, but it was championed and encouraged, which is really affirming. When Teresa and I first met at the studio rehearsal, there was this immediate like click of this like understanding. Teresa did such an incredible job just overall with this entire song, and they've really just become like this parental figure to me. And we've stayed in really good contact even after the week happened. They're incredible, and I love her so much. And yeah, no, I think Zaniba is just like the coolest human being ever. At the very beginning, when we were getting to know each other, we had these meetings, and Zaniba just always kept it really real with me and was very authentic to me about this industry and being a writer and a performer. And both of us having studied in Boston, she gave me some really important like college and life advice, which was amazing. And Dylan Glatthorn, the musical genius that this man is. I have so much admiration for you, Dylan. So I really appreciate that you're here. And just in the studio sessions, we got to chat and work on this song together. And Dylan just has such a vision and is an incredible spirit and just gets you really excited to make music. And working with him felt very, very collaborative. And he's just great. And I just have really good things to say about everybody.
Ollie, the feeling is 100% mutual. Over the moon. You're amazing.
You're amazing.
So let's talk about Winners Weekend. Can you share a standout memory from Winners Weekend? Was there something unexpected or a moment where it all felt real?
To this moment, even like now, it all still feels really surreal. It's not like every weekend that you're in New York, just like, casually playing your song or whatever with a full band. Like, okay. Um, I think the moment it really clicked for me was when the group of winners and I went to Concord on that first day of us getting there. Immediately, we walked in and we were just like enveloped by this support and love by everybody. I think everyone right off the bat was very, very kind and just really welcoming. And it just reminds me why I love theater in general. I think there's this special community, and everyone was really, really welcoming and excited to meet us. I think also just being in the Concord building, period, is insane. I grew up doing shows done by Concord, and so just being in the room, it's like it's no longer just like a name that you just see. It's like real in front of you, which I think is crazy. And I think the moment that I really processed that it was all real was on the actual concert day. Like even at the studio day, I was like, if you could have told me that like it would have ended at the studio, I would have been like, okay, cool. That's awesome. That's all I need. And then being in the theater, seeing the audience, seeing the performers on stage, and just like being able to sit in the audience too was really, really special because you just really get to see the culmination of your work on stage, and it's indescribable.
So when you submitted Overthinking to the songwriting challenge, you recorded the vocals for all four characters on the demo. What was it like working with performers Stephanie Machado, Kay Martala, Dominic Dorset, and Telly Leung to embody each of the characters? How did it feel to make changes with them in the room during the studio day?
Yeah. Aren't they just like the best
They
performers
really are.
ever? Like ever. Yeah, no, I just feel so lucky to have gotten to work with them, each of them. It was so great. It was such a great process. I made a point that on the studio day, I really wanted to just have lunch with each of the performers and just talk to them as people and as performers. I kind of like introduced myself, talk to them about the show, about their characters, but I also just really wanted to talk to them as people and ask them about their journeys and their careers and just like they were all so kind and it never felt like a I'm just this writer and you're just these performers. Like, no, it was a mutual like understanding. And once we got there, it was so much easier to just get to work with them because then we like started actually, performing the song and any feedback I had, they were so receptive and they immediately knew what to do and it just really clicked. And I think there was a minute while we were in the studio, like Dylan and I, like we first heard it the first time and we were expecting it to be like really, like interesting, but it just worked out so well. And that's just the most gratifying thing, I think, when you're in the studio, seeing it happen. It was just great.
Yeah, just to add for that, that was the first time that the performers had actually performed it all together. So we were expecting it to take much more time, and then it just all kind of clicked very quickly.
From your experience in the Songwriting Challenge, what's the one piece of advice you'd pass on to other young songwriters dreaming of this opportunity?
Okay, I guess I would say write something that matters to you rather than what you think you should be writing. Authenticity is something that I've learned is what makes you interesting, and no one in the world will have your same look on something or your same take. And there's a million and one ways to say the same thing, but your voice and your take is your own. Just keep writing. Listen to as much music as you possibly can. Stuff you like, stuff you don't, stuff you would have never listened to just on your own. Have an open mind and yeah, you're awesome and you got this and keep writing.
Thanks so much for sharing your journey and giving us a glimpse into the mind behind overthinking. It was great meeting you today.
Thank you so, so, so much for having me. I also want to give a big, big thank you to the National Endowment for the Arts, Concord Theatricals, Disney Theatrical Productions, and NMPA Songs Foundation for all of their support in making this program possible.
Of course, I also want to thank this week's incredible co-host, Dylan, for joining us today. Dylan, tell us, what have you got coming up next for you?
Well, Jean-Paul, thank you so much for having me. So Will and I just got back from California, where the Pelican was part of Musical Theater West's New Works Festival. And it was just announced that the Pelican will be a part of Theater Barn's New Works series later this year.
Very cool. Congratulations on that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Elliot, you've already accomplished so much. Now, can you tell the listeners what's next for you?
Ooh, what's next for me? I'm very excited for the future. I currently plan to post a lot more on my social media, just putting my work out there, collaborating with a lot more artists. If anyone is interested in checking that out, my Instagram is at alefon, ale.fonn. And yeah, I'm very excited to announce that Overthinking was selected to be orchestrated and performed at the Berklee Performance Center in April. Berklee hosts an annual musical theater songwriting contest, and I submitted Overthinking, and it is now going to be orchestrated and performed by the talent amazing orchestra at Berklee. And one of my dearest friends is also performing in it, which is very, very exciting. Overthinking and Sonder have not seen their last performance. As I mentioned beforehand, I'm workshopping and rewriting Sonder, and I really hope to at least have a staged reading with a couple of my friends very, very soon and just keep working on a bunch of new stuff.
Well, I look forward to talking to you again in the future when that's all accomplished. So we'll see you in a couple of years then, back on the
Hopefully,
program.
hopefully, fingers
Awesome.
crossed.
Well, that's all for today's interview, but we will be back with another fantastic winner and co-host next week. Once again, I am your host, Jean-Paul Yovanoff, and on behalf of NAMT and MTR, thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you in the theater.